A woman went camping in Diamond Fork, Spanish Fork Canyon, Utah in November 2020. But after arriving at the remote campsite area, she seemingly vanished. Her car was later discovered parked near the campground, along with camping equipment and personal belongings, but there was no sign of her anywhere. Search teams combed the rugged terrain for days, trying to locate her, but the harsh conditions and dense wilderness made the search extremely difficult. Eventually, the search was unsuccessful. Then, nearly 5 months later, a search group returned to the area using a drone. But during the operation, the drone crashed near the mountainside. As they went to recover it, they came across a hidden tent deep in the woods. Inside was the missing woman, alive. Authorities said she had survived by foraging for food and drinking water from a nearby river. She had lost a significant amount of weight, but was still conscious when found. Investigators later stated that she appeared to have chosen to remain there voluntarily. A man was riding his bike along an off-road trail late at night. It was around 2 a.m. and the trail was completely quiet when he suddenly heard whistling coming from the bushes nearby. At first, he slowed down and stopped, trying to figure out where the sound was coming from. That's when, according to the writer, he noticed what looked like a figure moving toward him from the darkness. The video itself is too dark to clearly show anything, making it hard to tell what was actually there. Not wanting to take any chances, he quickly sped away, and I believe that was a smart move. 2 hikers were walking the Mystic Falls Trail near Old Faithful in Yellowstone National Park when a trip into nature suddenly turned into a nightmare. Another hiker named Craig Lerman was nearby when he started noticing signs that something was very wrong. First, he spotted massive paw prints in the mud along the trail. Then, farther ahead, he came across a bloody hat and a torn watch lying on the ground. Moments later, he heard someone calling for help. That's when he found a badly injured 28-year-old man near the trail. According to Craig, the man had severe injuries to his face, back, and legs after what authorities believe may have been a grizzly bear attack. Nearby, the victim's 14-year-old brother had also been injured. Knowing the bear could still be somewhere close, Craig stayed to help anyway. He called emergency services, followed dispatcher instructions, and even covered one of the victims with his own shirt because he was cold and wet. Rescue teams and a helicopter later arrived to airlift both hikers to a hospital. Remarkably, both survived. After the attack, park officials temporarily closed nearby trails while the incident was investigated. Honestly, the fact that both hikers survived feels nothing short of a miracle. A man from Portland walked back to his car expecting a normal day, only to find something deeply unsettling waiting for him. His tires had been slashed. But that wasn't the part that really shook him. Left on the car was a handwritten note that read, "You were so easy to find, Mark. You should drive more carefully." Was it meant as some kind of warning after a road rage incident? A personal threat from someone who already knew him? The fact that the note used his name made the whole situation feel much more personal. Scary, right? Russian YouTuber Xenia Stepanov and a group of friends decide to visit an abandoned campground deep in the forest near the Chernobyl exclusion zone, a place left behind after the nuclear disaster. After a long hike through the woods, they finally reached the location and began exploring the abandoned buildings. At first, everything seemed quiet, but as they continued looking around inside, they started hearing noises coming from outside.
Шкафчики. Прикольно. Когда-то тут кто-то жил.
Then, suddenly, a man began yelling at them. The group immediately panicked, assuming they had simply been caught trespassing. But moments later, things escalated even further.
Не знаю, она сказала, ну-ка быстро валим отсюда, а то я сейчас вам...
A gunshot rang out in their direction, sending everyone sprinting deeper into the forest trying to escape. In remote areas around Chernobyl, abandoned zones are sometimes visited by illegal scavengers, squatters, or unofficial guards, making encounters like this especially unpredictable. Fortunately, the group managed to get away safely. But it still leaves one question. Was it just an angry person protecting the area, or someone far more dangerous hiding out in the middle of nowhere? Researchers working at the Forensic Anthropology Research Facility in Texas were studying decomposition when they captured something unusual on camera in 2015. A white-tailed deer appeared near a human body that had been left in a controlled outdoor environment for research purposes. By that stage, most of the body had decomposed, leaving exposed bones. The camera trap later recorded the deer picking up a human rib bone and chewing on it. Scientists believe the deer may have been seeking minerals like calcium or phosphorus, which can sometimes lead animals to chew bones in rare situations. An explorer walking deep inside a forest came across something hidden between the roots of a large tree. It was a glass jar sitting partially buried in the soil, surrounded by tangled roots as if it had been there for a long time. Jars or containers are sometimes said to trap supernatural beings, like spirits or genies, in certain mythologies. The explorer doesn't open it, but the way it's placed in the forest makes it feel intentional rather than random. Was it just trash left in nature, or something that shouldn't be disturbed? Reddit user TruthIsFictionYT shared a strange photo that had been debated online for years, often referred to as the Chewbacca Sasquatch image. The photo was reportedly taken near Mount Rainier, and at first glance, it appears to show a large figure standing among the trees. Some people pointed out what looked like a bandolier across its chest, making the figure resemble Chewbacca from Star Wars. Others believed it could actually be evidence of Bigfoot, blending into the forest unnoticed. But not everyone was convinced. Skeptics argued it was likely just shadows, tree branches, and natural patterns creating the illusion of a figure. A classic case of the mind trying to make sense of unclear shapes in the woods. And this time, I think I have to agree with the skeptics. The combination of shadows, branches, and low image quality can easily create something that looks human-like from a distance. But what do you think? A man was browsing Google Maps Street View when he came across something unsettling. A group of people standing together wearing strange masks and costumes, holding what looked like knife-like props in their hands. It looked eerie, especially in the middle of a quiet area. Some believe it could simply be a Halloween prank or staged scene. Others think the positioning and props make it look more intense than a normal celebration. So was it just a prank, or something more disturbing? In Australia, a man opened his car door and immediately froze when he saw this. A large spider sitting inside the door panel. The spider stays still inside the car door while he hesitates to deal with it. Would you calmly remove it or just abandon the car altogether if you saw something like that waiting inside? A 27-year-old hunter named Caden Seitz disappeared near Mount Chavano in Colorado after heading into the mountains alone for what was expected to be a short hunting trip. When he failed to return, concern quickly began to grow. Authorities later discovered his truck parked at a nearby trailhead, along with a cell phone that was no longer active. From there, investigators believe he had continued deeper into the wilderness on foot, but after that, there was no confirmed sign of him. According to reports, Caden was only carrying basic gear, including the clothes on his back, a rifle, and a binocular case. Search crews began combing the area immediately, covering steep mountain terrain, dense forest, rocky slopes, and heavily wooded sections where visibility becomes extremely limited. Officials said more than 3,000 miles were searched during the operation. To help the public identify him more easily, authorities even released AI-generated images showing what he may have been wearing during the hike. But with so little evidence left behind, people are still wondering what really happened after Caden entered those mountains alone. Survival experts explained that in a wilderness environment like this, even experienced hikers or hunters can quickly become disorientated. A Reddit user named AdditionalBerry977 shared a surprising clip. And before we continue, don't ever try something like this yourself. The footage showed a mother bear leaving her cubs with a man before wandering off into the forest. What made the moment so unbelievable was how calm the cubs seemed around him. And even more unusual, the mother bear showed no signs of aggression or fear. Most wild bears are extremely protective of their young, especially around humans. So naturally, many people wondered why she would trust someone enough to leave her cubs behind, even for a short time. But there was reportedly more context behind the video. According to some viewers, the man was Dr. Valentin Sergeyevich Pastanov, a wildlife expert who spent years rehabilitating orphaned brown bears and reportedly cared for hundreds of them. Some believe the mother bear may have recognized him and trusted him. Even knowing that, the moment still feels almost unreal. A man had parked his car outside during a strong storm and stepped away for a while. When he returned, he was met with a shocking scene. His car was completely destroyed. Large tree branches had been forced through parts of the vehicle, and the airbags were fully deployed inside. One tree had struck directly into the passenger seat. The man narrowly escaped what could have been a fatal situation if he had been inside at the time. Reddit user TerribleFun9700 was on a hike in 2022 when they got lost and came across something strange in the middle of the woods. They had been walking for hours without seeing anyone when they suddenly found a small setup of dolls placed in an open area. The dolls looked unusually clean, despite being deep in the forest, suggesting they may have been placed there recently. It felt unsettling, almost like a setup. Luckily, the Redditor eventually found their way back to the trail. A 16-year-old boy named Josh Davis was out walking through a neighborhood in Garner, North Carolina, with his cousin back in 2004. At one point during the walk, his cousin briefly returned to a nearby house to grab something. But when he came back just minutes later, Josh was lying on the side of the road, bleeding from a severe head injury. He was rushed to the hospital, but did not survive. At the time, investigators believed he may have been the victim of a hit-and-run accident. But for years, the exact cause of what happened remained unclear. Now, more than 20 years later, the case has been officially reopened as a homicide investigation. Authorities say new information led them to identify a police officer as a person of interest, though no charges have been filed. Investigators are now reviewing old statements, evidence from the original case, and newly uncovered leads alongside the North Carolina State Bureau of Investigation. The officer has reportedly been placed on administrative leave while the investigation continues. Josh's family say they believe people in the community may know more than they ever admitted, and after more than 2 decades without answers, they're still searching for the truth. A man was up in a tree in a forest when he looked down and saw a dark, fur-covered figure with glowing green eyes standing near the base. As he stayed there, the figure occasionally peeked out again, still focused on him. Moments later, another similar-looking figure appeared nearby, also with large glowing eyes. The man remained in the tree, unsure of what he was seeing. Was it just animals in the dark, or something else? Unfortunately, he never explained how the situation unfolded. Reddit user Chobi4x4 shared a video from a camping trip deep in the woods with a friend. They were sitting near their truck around a fire when they suddenly heard movement behind them.
Yeah, just shone up a bit, I can't see it.
When they turned and used a light, they realized a hyena had come close to their camp. The two stayed completely quiet and avoided sudden movement while recording from a distance. The hyena didn't act aggressively at first, mostly just inspecting the area, likely drawn by the smell of food. After a while, it slowly moved away from the camp. Hyenas are known for their strength and powerful bite force, which can make encounters extremely dangerous. Luckily, this one appeared to be more curious than anything else. A Republican state Senate candidate named Barry Christian was reported missing after suddenly disappearing in western Oklahoma. Barry Christian, 54, was running for Oklahoma's 38th District Senate seat and had recently been campaigning across the area. Concern began to grow after he failed to show up for a scheduled meeting on Wednesday morning. When no one could reach him, a missing persons report was filed. The following day, investigators located his charcoal gray pickup truck inside a small ravine within the Sandy Sanders Wildlife Management Area near Highway 30. One of his campaign signs was also found nearby. The area was remote and surrounded by rough terrain, about 20 minutes from his home in Sayre, Oklahoma. After an extensive search, authorities discovered Barry Christian's body near the vehicle. Officials confirmed his death, but said the circumstances surrounding it remain under investigation. So far, no official cause of death has been released. Investigators are continuing to examine the vehicle and review evidence from the scene. His family later stated that they still do not fully know what happened in the hours before he disappeared. A man was walking home at night somewhere near his neighborhood in California when he noticed a dark shape partially hidden behind a tree. But when he zoomed in, he saw what looked like a pair of red glowing eyes staring back from the rooftop. The man slowly backed away and left the area. People often link sightings like this to the Mothman legend, where red eyes are frequently reported in different encounters. The footage never clearly shows what the shape actually was, and the man never found out. Zion National Park in Utah is known for its massive cliffs, narrow canyons, and some of the most dangerous hiking trails in the United States. Every year, millions of people visit the park, drawn in by the views and adrenaline-filled routes like Angel's Landing and Spry Canyon. But with steep drops, loose rock, and exposed trails, even one mistake can quickly turn deadly. Within a single week, 2 hikers lost their lives inside the park. The most recent case involved a 43-year-old man from California. According to officials, he was hiking alone in the Spry Canyon area, a remote section known for rock scrambling and rappelling routes. At some point during the hike, he suffered a fall. Emergency responders attempted CPR after finding him unresponsive, but he did not survive. Just days earlier, another hiker had also died near Angel's Landing, one of the park's most exposed and dangerous trails. Park officials explained that terrain, weather, trail conditions, and inexperience can all play a role in these accidents. TikTok user Haunted Foodie shared a video from an old castle she visited while it was closed for renovations. She said no one was supposed to be inside at the time, but while filming the upper part of the building, she caught this: a figure appearing in one of the windows. She described it as looking like a maid, standing still for a moment before disappearing. No one was supposed to be inside, yet this has reportedly been one of multiple sightings in that location. A man got stranded in the middle of a forest road after hitting something sharp and blowing a tire. With no signal and no spare tire, he stepped out of the car and started recording while waiting for help. He managed to contact a friend, but it would take hours for anyone to reach him. As night fell, the forest around him became completely dark, and he began noticing movement in the bushes near the road. At first, he thought it was just wildlife, but then he noticed the eyes. And then, the figure stepped onto the road. It's hard to see, but it doesn't look normal. Almost humanoid. What do you think? Someone recorded a video showing the inside of a cave, but when the camera zoomed in, the video took an unexpected turn. As the zoom increased, the scene started resembling a small village, with what looked like tiny houses and even figures moving between them. There was no context attached to the clip, and no explanation of where or when it was recorded. Nobody really understands what's happening in this video. This man was walking through a shallow tunnel while filming himself exploring the area. As he moved through the water, he suddenly noticed something beneath the surface. A giant crocodile was hidden in the water. He doesn't stay long after that moment. Now he wonders, was it really alive? Was he in danger? A Reddit user, Dogs Are Cool and Stuff, was out hiking with his 2 dogs on a trail in the Pacific Northwest. About 2 miles in, he came across a tree with something bizarre attached to it. Tied with a red rope and secured with large nails were what he believed to be 2 cows' tongues. Next to the tree, large bones, possibly from a cow, lay scattered in the shallow river nearby. His dogs immediately became uneasy, acting restless and staring off toward the woods as if something unseen was nearby. He looked around for another person or signs of a campsite, but found nothing. When he returned later to investigate further, he couldn't find it anymore, as if it had never existed. Some suggested it might be a form of ritual or symbolic placing tied to folklore or witchcraft. Others thought it could have been something meant to keep spirits quiet or guard the trail. What do you think?
2 friends were out on their boat, spending the day on the river, filming the shoreline and enjoying the windy weather, when something unusual caught their attention. As they scanned the riverbank, they noticed a figure among the tall grass, covered in shaggy brown fur. Unsure of what they were looking at, they kept recording. That's when this happened. The figure suddenly rose upright, revealing itself as a tall bipedal creature. The 2 men watched in shock as the figure quickly disappeared from sight. A man was driving along a remote, heavily forested back road when something caught his eye. At first he thought it was a bear, but as he got closer, it didn't resemble anything familiar. He quickly snapped a photo and kept driving, and the figure disappeared into the woods. He considered it might have been a person trying to scare passers-by, but something about it didn't feel like that. Was it Bigfoot?
An 80-year-old woman was hiking on a remote island near the Great Barrier Reef when a routine excursion took a tragic turn. She had been traveling aboard the luxury cruise ship Coral Adventurer, which had stopped at Lizard Island, a popular destination known for its scenic trails and breathtaking views. That day, she joined other passengers on a guided hike along the Cook's Look track, a steep trail leading to the island's highest point. But partway through the hike, she began to feel tired. She told the group she would turn back and rest, while the others continued toward the summit. No one thought anything was wrong. The group assumed she would safely make her way back to the pickup point. But as the sun began to set, something went terribly wrong. The ship departed the island, unaware that one of its passengers had not returned. It wasn't until later that evening, around 9 p.m., that the crew realized she was missing. By then, the island was already dark. An urgent search began. Helicopters scanned the terrain with spotlights. Crew members and rescuers searched the trails through the night, but there was no sign of her. Then, the next morning, her body was found, just a short distance from the trail she had been walking. Authorities later described the incident as a non-suspicious death, but an investigation was launched to understand how she had been left behind. Cruise ships typically have strict systems in place to track passengers.
A couple in France were out for a walk at night when they saw this.
Mais ça bouge?
A strange, glowing object in the sky. It appeared like a capsule-shaped light, glowing deep red and moving smoothly across the sky in a controlled path. There were no visible wings, rotors, or any clear structure that would explain how it was staying in the air. Whether it was a man-made flying object or not remains a mystery, unless someone knows more. And now, let's watch some more scary trail encounters.